Hey guys, it's me again, ERE Expo 2009, the Fall Expo here at the Westin Diplomat, as I shared earlier, here in beautiful Hollywood, Florida. I am really excited. Again, I think I've done a really good job in capturing an excellent person to interview, like I've promised. Mike Grennier?
Yep.
Oh, I did it good. He is the Senior Director of Corporate Recruiting for Walmart Stores Incorporated. I was very fortunate to sit in on his presentation this morning, and just because, again, I wanted to keep this whole theme and focus on keeping top A talent engaged and excited about their work during difficult times. There's been lots of talk and lots of articles about what if, when things turn around, top players are feeling overworked, they're feeling burned out, not appreciated, not excited about their work, and are they planning to leave? So Mike hit some really neat things. I was struck by his bell comment. He mentioned there is a bell for ringing during success. And Mike, you also focused on the basics, getting back to basics for recruiting.
Yep.
So I'm going to ask Mike two specific questions. The first one will be talk about excitement around current engagement. What are you doing? He's got some neat thoughts. Then I'll remind you partway through about the communication piece, how you're communicating and keeping folks, keeping rumors at bay, things like that. So I'm going to flip it over. And Mike, go ahead, take it away. Talk to me about engagement, a little bit more about engagement.
Well, hi everybody. Good to see you again. I think the key thing we talked about, and the analogy I used was, you got to celebrate your successes when you're out there, because the recruiting business is very much a what have you done for me lately type industry. If you fill one job, 5 minutes later you'll have 4 more job recs at your desk. So we've developed a little thing that has been kind of fun. We have a bell in one of our offices, one of our division offices, and we make a good hire or a bad hire, a hire period. We go out and ring the bell, and because I think it's important to celebrate the successes. The analogy I used earlier is that when you think about when you're a kid, you always get trophies. You always get attaboys. If you win the baseball game, you get an ice cream. Okay, if you win, you get a large. If you lose, you get a small. But we're always taking time to celebrate success. We're always taking time to reward and recognize good things. The problem I see in kind of corporate America, if you will, is that when you get to a certain grown-up stage, you tend to forget those things a little bit. And so we put the bell in place about a year ago, or a year and a half ago, and whenever a recruiter would make a big hire, they'd go ring the bell, and it brought people out of their cubes, it brought people out of their offices, and hey, what's all the excitement about? Why are you doing that? And so it was kind of like our little modern-day way of giving, recognizing success and giving people ice cream for good things. The funny thing that happened, though, along the way is that there's almost like an emotional release that happens when you ring a bell, or you do something fun, or when you have a little mini party. It creates this level of enthusiasm that you can't get just by going through day-to-day,
right?
Which is really kind of cool. And the nice thing about this as well, Christina, is that over time, the hiring managers, who are historically pretty difficult to deal with sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Always very demanding.
Yes, very much so.
They would start ringing the bell themselves. So they would actually walk into our offices, search us out, and they would get a good hire. Of course, the manager knows when you're going to make a hire, and you call the manager up and say, hey, Bill has accepted the offer, and the manager, in many cases, would run over to the office, look for the bell, ring the bell, and would celebrate with us. So it became kind of a cultural thing for us.
Oh, wow.
Which was very unique. Now, the good thing, last year we had a lot of hires, and so the bell was ringing a lot last year. But I think it really helped kind of build the camaraderie. It helped to recognize that, in the recruiting business, when you're just getting beaten up all day long by not filling the jobs fast enough, it gives you a little bit of moment of celebration and success when you have some fun.
You mentioned also something I thought was really neat. You talked about empowerment.
Okay.
To me, empowerment is extremely important for your A players to feel wanted, to feel appreciated. Mm-hmm. It helps them to remain engaged. Would you take a moment to talk a little bit about this empowerment piece that you mentioned?
Yeah. I think historically, if you look around the recruiting business and look around this room at ERE or in any company, I think you find a lot of recruiters that are relatively new in their career. Okay, they're maybe 20-something, 30-somethings, and they don't necessarily have the business maturity, and it's very difficult sometimes when you're younger or new in your career,
right,
to walk into a VP's office or a senior vice president's office and talk about recruiting, because the historical thing we've always done in this business is, and it's kind of funny because in the recruiting business, if someone has hired somebody somewhere along the way, they think they're a great recruiter.
Right.
Okay. Well, we in the recruiting department have to be the experts.
Right.
We've got to be the subject matter experts at recruiting. The hiring managers who are, maybe it's a VP in finance or in IT or in supply chain, they're great at what they do. We've got to show them that we're great at what we do.
Yeah.
And so we've got to be the experts in the recruiting business. And so I think one of the things we've focused on at Walmart the last couple of years is really taking a look at our recruiting staff and say, and give them the confidence, first of all, give them the empower them to say, I am the recruiting expert at this piece of the business. You're better at finance, you're better at supply chain, you're better at IT. But when it comes to recruiting, I am the expert.
Right.
And it's a mental shift that they have to make.
Yep.
It's very difficult sometimes. It's not easy, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But when a person begins to feel that they are the subject matter expert at recruiting, the conversation changes dramatically when you go out and visit with a hiring manager. So that's kind of what we get into from an empowerment standpoint.
That's marvelous. This is so exciting. I enjoy this tremendously. And then there's just one other question I want to ask you.
All right. Here comes the tough one.
I think so. How are you managing the communication piece? Because I think that, like I say, when we look at the difficult times that we're in, the challenging, news that you hear, and some of you get fear. It starts to take hold, and that's not good for A players. And you work with an organization that often has a lot of extraneous noise, I think you mentioned. Talk to me, if you may, just for a couple minutes around communication. What are your commitments to communicate out to your team?
Well, I think it's a great question. I think, and we do get a lot of noise. There's a lot of noise just in the real retail industry. Sure. In the home office, there's a lot of noise in the recruiting industry. Hiring's down. We can see it real time when we are kind of on the front line sometimes. When hiring slows down, our recs get cut in half or a third, whatever else, very quickly. It makes recruiters get nervous pretty quickly. But I think the key thing, and I think the key word I'd use here, is transparency. Wonderful. There's no secret that the market is different today than it was 2, 3, 4 years ago. There's no question at all. And so if you try to kind of hide that, and these recruiters, even if they are relatively new in their career, they're smart enough to recognize it. So I think it's important to be honest with them. Tell them what's going on. Be very transparent. Be very open. Have them pull them aside, talk to them face to face. Those are the kind of things we kind of focus on. But I think the key thing there is if you're not transparent, you're not going to build that trust with that associate. And you don't build that trust, you're not going to be able to build that relationship where they trust what you're saying. I think it really helps in many ways.
Well, I think you said it. Transparency equals trust when we were there. And I loved it.
Today?
You did.
Okay,
and I loved it. It's okay. I loved it. But listen, thank you.
The lights are really bright up there.
Well, you did a fabulous job, and one of the reasons why, like I said, I'd hoped you'd share, and I can't thank you enough. I thought this was marvelous, and many blessings to you, and lots of continued success.
Great. Thank you very much, Christina.
Take care.
Take care.